This episode of On the Record is brought to you by Associated Equipment Distributors.
This is Mike Lessiter from Lessiter Ag Media. This week we were in Washington, D.C., seeing the Ag Retailers Association, the Fertilizer Institute, the National Association of Conservation Districts, and Field to Market. Welcome to this week's On the Record.
The number of big dealers in North America dropped for the third year in a row in 2025 as consolidation continues to impact the ag equipment industry. After rising to a record high of 214 big dealers in 2022, the industry now has 205 dealers with 5 or more ag equipment locations. Also for the second year in a row, the total number of ag equipment stores owned by big dealers increased to 2,739. Deere once again has the most big dealers at 79, but that's down once again from the previous year. In 2024, the number of Deere big dealers dropped to 82 from 86 in 2023 and 90 in 2022. The number of AGCO dealers dropped again as well, now at 20 big AGCO dealers versus 22 in 2024 and 23 in 2023. Case IH and New Holland each saw their big dealers grow. Case IH now has 42 big dealers versus 41 in 2024, and New Holland jumped up to 30 from 27 last year. After declining to 29 big dealers last year, Kubota saw an increase in 2025 and now has 36 big dealers. Other big dealers, which includes company-owned and short-line-only dealerships, declined from 21 last year to 16 this year, which includes 11 class big dealers. The growth in Kubota big dealers was somewhat surprising given Kubota's policy that caps the number of stores any Kubota dealer can own per state, which was announced last May. Kubota's May 2024 memo explained that dealer store locations would be capped starting at 6 in states with 10 or fewer Kubota locations, up to 25 stores per ownership group in states with 51 or more Kubota stores. Nationally, the number of Kubota locations any one ownership group can own is now 50. Currently, there are 7 Kubota dealers that operate 10 or more stores. Under this policy, Ewald Kubota could still add 5 more stores, as data from 2024 shows there are 87 Kubota locations in Texas. George Russell, founding member of the Machinery Advisors Consortium, who has been consulting on the Big Dealer Report since 2011, notes, with limiting the numbers by state and just their desire to be perceived as being close to the customer and not having this big dealer feel, which is their brand identity, it's interesting looking at the numbers to see that they are getting scale with certain dealers. This week's dealers on the move include Claas FarmPoint and Wade Inc. Claas FarmPoint opened a new temporary location in Buffalo, North Dakota, while a permanent facility is being built in the Jamestown area, as well as a second location in Devil's Lake, which is scheduled to open ahead of the 2025 harvest season. Mississippi-based John Deere dealer Wade Inc. has acquired Indiana Deere dealer Reynolds Farm Equipment. The combined operation has 19 locations, but the Indiana stores will continue to operate under the Reynolds name. Now here's Noah Newman with the latest from the Technology Corner.
Thank you very much, Kim. CNH remains focused on delivering practical precision solutions to farmers almost 4 years after its acquisition of Raven. Now, our Mike Lessiter caught up with John Preheim from CNH and asked him if there's anything dealers still don't fully understand about the significance of this acquisition as it relates to delivering new technology to customers.
We haven't fully realized the integration of the technology between what was historically CNH and what was historically Raven. So it's not that they don't know because they haven't been educated. They don't know because they haven't really seen it all yet. Some of it's been introduced, obviously, on sprayers. We've been together for years with between CNH and Raven. But as we start looking at the broader portfolio, I think over the next 3 years, we're going to see a lot of streamlining and a significantly improved user experience, anywhere from how you order, how you provision equipment, to how you actually use it in the cab, how you can create more efficiency through better pre-planning. If you look back at some of the stuff Raven worked on as part of the ag retail business, obviously there was a lot of focus on how we optimize the efficiency of their operations. A lot of that will be getting carried through to farmers on other equipment here as we go forward too.
And we'll have much more from our conversation with John Preheim on PrecisionFarmingDealer.com. In the Technology Corner, I'm Noah Newman. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Noah. As of May 21st, corn prices were $4.38, down 23 cents from our last episode. Soybeans closed at $10.50, down 12 cents, and wheat closed at $5.34, down 15 cents. During Ag Equipment Intelligence's executive briefing mid-year review on June 5th, Pinion's Mark Johnson provided an economic update during which he highlighted how the Big Beautiful Bill will benefit U.S. equipment dealers. Some of those benefits include the estate tax provision, Section 199A, and bonus depreciation.
You see things like Make America Families Thrive Again, Make a Rural American Main Street Grow Again. So there's definitely some political football stomping in the end zone kind of thing here as this bill goes through. The good news is it's passed the House. We got just about everything in it that we would have wanted as equipment dealers. The estate tax provision comes back to about $15 million per person, adjusted for inflation. That starts next year, and that they want that to be permanent. The Section 199A that gets passed through companies down to the same tax rate or closer to the same tax rate as C corporations pay, that's reinstated. In fact, it's gone up to 23% instead of 20%. So that's great news. Bonus depreciation also comes back 100%. If they bought it after Trump was elected. So kind of a funny notion there that if they bought it between January 1st and January 19th, it doesn't count. But if they bought it January 20th or after, we get 100% bonus depreciation. So as auditors, we're joking that you guys are going to get a lot of people coming back in and asking to redo their invoice to say January 20th instead of January 12th. But basically we got about everything we wanted. You kind of look through this thing. Our individual rates are back down where we wanted. Standard deductions are up high. The one complicated thing is the state and local tax deduction. We do get a better deduction now. It goes from $10,000 a year to $30,000 a year. But to pay for that, those of you that have gone through a lot of work with your accountants to do what's called a pass-through into the election, where the company is paying the tax for the shareholder, those mechanisms aren't going to be allowed anymore. So we did a lot of work to get a deduction for a couple of years. There's a lot of people right now passing out letters that you can sign up to send to your senator to say, hey, don't do what the House did. We don't like that. We need to pass her into the deduction because we need to be able to deduct our taxes. So anyway, stay tuned. The House has, like I said, they have passed it. The Senate will eventually pass something. We're told that'll be before July 4th, but I doubt that. They're not seeing the Senate is starting to have a lot of talk about maybe making some changes. We got people that are loyal to the president that are starting to backtrack on that, and so we're seeing a little bit of give. I think we'll still see a tax bill passed, but I don't think it's going to be by July 4th. It'll probably be more like by the end of August.
For Johnson's full presentation, along with a Q&A discussion with New Holland North America's VP Ryan Schaefer, retired president of Oxbow Forage Division Craig Harthorne, and H&R AgriPower president Steve Hunt, watch the full mid-year review on the Farm Equipment website. Over the past year, freight rates responded unevenly to global trade disruptions, says Lee Anderson, senior economist with Farm Credit Canada. In a recent FCC report, Anderson says container shipping rates have shown high sensitivity to trade policy shifts and consumer demand, while dry bulk freight rates have remained more stable, driven by consistent commodity-specific demand such as agriculture products. He says, quote, Canada's agriculture sector is deeply integrated into global trade, with both the U.S. and China playing pivotal roles. The U.S. serves as a benchmark for agricultural pricing. Soybeans are the perfect example, since China is the world's largest buyer, usually making up more than 60% of global imports. So when China changes how much it buys from the U.S., it affects the prices of Canadian oilseeds. If China decides to buy more from South America, demand for U.S. soybeans will drop and could lead to lower prices. Anderson says one factor that has been overshadowed by broader tariffs is a new U.S. policy that was announced in April that imposes shipping fees on vessels built or operated by China. These fees, currently set at $0, are scheduled to increase starting in October 2025 and are expected to further disrupt global supply chains, he says. The fees vary by vessel type. Cargo ships will be charged $50 per ton, while container ships will pay either $18 per ton or $120 per container, whichever's higher. Anderson uses this example. A 70,000-ton Panamax vessel, which is the most common for U.S. grain shipments, could face fees up to $3.5 million per visit to a U.S. port. In the short term, Anderson says the fees will raise shipping costs, leading to higher prices for imported goods, including the ever-important December holiday season. Overall, it will reduce competitiveness for U.S. exporters, especially in agriculture, as increased freight costs are passed on to U.S. farmers through lower farm gate prices. He adds that the timing of the fees on Chinese vessels is significant, coinciding with peak U.S. soybean export season. He concludes saying, the new fees are expected to disrupt shipments during the busiest months, likely leading to further declines in new crop soybean sales. From Canada's perspective, this could be an advantage for both bulk grain and containerized agri-food exports. Ships may reroute to Canadian ports to avoid U.S. fees, potentially boosting Canadian export demand and competitiveness. This week's DataPoint is brought to you by the Dealership Mind Summit. Early bird savings end June 18th. To view the program and to register, visit dealershipmindsummit.com. According to the 2025 Dealer Business Outlook and Trends report, over 2/3 of Case IH dealers forecast their self-propelled sprayer unit sales to be as good or better than 2024. This breaks down to 3.6% who expect sales to be up 8% or more, and 17.9% who expect an increase of 2 to 7%. Nearly half of Case IH dealers expect flat sales, while a quarter of red dealers expect sales of self-propelled sprayers to be down 8% or more. That's it for this week's On the Record. You can send comments and story suggestions to kschmidt@lestermedia.com. Until next time, I'm Kim Schmidt. Thanks for joining us.